Hi everyone. My last video was entitled Golden Practical Exposures Part 1, and this is going to be Golden Practical Exposures Part 2. Now, in the last video I spoke of a book called Overcoming Unwanted Intrusive Thoughts, which is a fantastic book, and from that book I gave you 3 exposures. I didn't really flesh them out because I want to leave that for another video. But the exposures I gave you, if I can remember correctly, were there was mirror work involved where you actually look into a mirror and you repeat these intrusive thoughts to yourself looking in the mirror, and say it with conviction, by the way. Another one was to sing the thoughts. As childish as it sounds, what you're doing there with the singing is you're allowing the intrusive thoughts to come into your mind, to come into your awareness, but you're adding a little twist, a little bit of humour. So you sing the thoughts to, it can be anything: Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, Happy Birthday, Linkin Park's In the End, ABBA, anything, right? And the first one that I did in the last video was about the sticky notes, buying a little pad and getting lots of sticky notes and writing down your intrusive thoughts on those notes and just sticking them everywhere around the house, basically. Because what most people do is run away from their triggers, okay? But as long as you're running away from your triggers, you're never going to progress. What you need to do is run to the fear, run to your triggers. And by sticking these notes all around the house, you're basically constantly triggering yourself, because these notes will be a constant reminder of what you're thinking. So those were 3 from the book, Overcoming Unwanted Intrusive Thoughts. Now in this video, which I'm going to try and make as brief as possible because I do have a tendency to waffle on sometimes, I'm going to give you a few more. The first one for today is basically an extension of the sticky notes. You just get a piece of paper, get several pieces of paper, and these thoughts that are so unthinkable to you, that are so painful to you, that you can't stand thinking them because you're afraid of the thought action fusion. You're thinking that if you think these thoughts, you're going to make them happen, or you're going to make it come true, or you will turn gay or whatever. Don't worry about that. Just get a piece of paper and write down these so-called gay thoughts, and write them over and over and over. 60 times, 100 times, 200 times, and just keep writing down and down and down the page. The same the other side. And just keep doing it until you're literally bored to tears. Because your mind, just like, do you know in my first video I spoke about Teddy Atlas and the story that he came out with putting somebody into spa in a boxing ring? There was one kid that would break down after about 5 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever it was sparring. But he'd put him through the 10 seconds, stop him. Then he'd build him up to half a minute. Then he'd build him up to a minute, and it's basically climatizing to the distress. So write. It's going to be uncomfortable for you, but you will climatize to it, and you will become immune to these thoughts eventually if you keep allowing them into consciousness through writing. Right, another one is a step beyond that, which it does mention in the book Overcoming unwanted intrusive thoughts, and that's about imaginal exposure, and I've actually got a video on that. With imaginal exposure, you basically write in a script. Imagine that you were a writer or a film director or, you know, a creative person, and you were writing a story, a gay story. Well, write a gay story about yourself, about having sexual relations with somebody, you know, of the same gender. And as horrible and as unthinkable as it sounds, you know, I mean, it'll fucking horrify you. But if you write the story and write what you're going to do to this guy or girl, and what they're going to do to you, all the sexy, kinky, you know, shit you can think of, do that. It'll trigger the hell out of you. When the feelings come up, these intense feelings, sit with them, don't judge them, don't argue with them, don't interfere with them. That goes with all exposures, by the way. All exposures, not just the one I'm talking about. So that's imaginal exposure. You can Google this. And in fact, if you Google imaginal exposure script, you know, it should give you some ideas of, you know, of what to do, what to say, so forth, okay? For the next one, which isn't really in the book, this is a big leap. So I wouldn't go trying this shit until you're ready, okay? Because exposures are best, you know, when you go up in steps, I guess. The next one is a situational exposure. And this involves actually going to gay bars. You'll trigger the hell out of yourself, but that's what you're looking for, to run to the fear, not away from it. So you can either go to a gay bar, or you can go to a gay neighborhood, or you can speak to a gay friend, or you can listen to gay music, or, you know, deliberately confront gay, you know, whatever the situation. Put yourself into those situations, and again, when the feelings come up, and I know I'm repeating myself now, but I'm doing it for a reason, deal with the feelings. Don't argue with them. Don't interfere with them. Allow them to be. Allow them to play themselves out like a tape recorder. So that's a situational exposure. Okay? And probably, you know, for some, it would be more effective. But what you've got to understand is people tend to think in black and white terms. But people are different. And people have different variations of HOCD. So you choose whatever exposure that you are comfortable with. If the situational is too extreme for you, leave it alone. Just do the you know, the writing one, or the sticky notes one, or something like that. And the last one is something of an input from myself. Some time ago, and this has nothing to do with OCD, I needed to kick myself up the arse, basically. Okay? And I needed motivation. I didn't actually do this, but I thought about it. And that's writing a letter to myself. Writing a letter to myself, a motivational letter, sending the letter, and then a few days later you receive the letter and you read it. Now, I don't know if I'm talking through my arse. This is just a random, you know, thought. But you could do an imaginal exposure, or you could, you know, write a script where you say, you know, you're gay. You know, just admit it. You had feelings for this guy. You know, it's all bullshit, of course. But you basically write an imaginal exposure script and send it to yourself. And a few days later, you read it. And that, again, will trigger you and freak you the fuck out. But it's see, what it is with OCD people, They can't, they're very strong people, OCD people are. They have to be to tolerate what they tolerate in. But they don't like discomfort. Discomfort is a big issue for them. And there's many people that have spoken to me and have said, I'm going to see how much time I've got left on this video. People don't like to trigger themselves. And people often say to me, somebody's triggering me. Well, I understand where they're coming from. They're worried and so forth, and they're ruminating like fuck and freaking out. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't face your triggers, you're always going to be stuck in the jail. Okay? Yes, if you want the comfort, if you don't want to be triggered, fine. But the HOCD will continue. In order to... I always relate everything to a bully because I was bullied in school. And unless you stand up to the bully, it's not going to go away. So if you don't face the triggers now, you're going to only have to face them again if you want to progress. That's the reality of it. And you know, I'm a spiritual guy, and you know, a lot of, if you were not, that's fine. But I believe sometimes that I often wonder if we signed up for this shit. Not just HOCD, but OCD in general, like what I've suffered with this scrupulosity and, if that's the right word, and magical thinking and all that stuff. But it's all the same. It's all standing up to the bully. And it takes character. And as I said in one of my other videos, it takes courage. And courage is more respectable than confidence. So have the courage to tiptoe, if you have to, towards your fears. Baby steps, take it light at first, but confront your fears nonetheless, because that is the only way forward. This shit isn't going to leave you alone. It's not going to leave you alone until you do something about it. If you get knocked down in life, get up, just like a boxing match. Get up and go forward. Anyway, I thought I'd make this video because I did promise I'd make a second one. I will be coming out with a comprehensive exposure video. And I thought I'd do it now because out there it's like a fucking ghost town with this coronavirus and all that bullshit that's going on. What do you think about that coronavirus anyway? Do you know what? It's all a bit fishy to me, but that's just my way of thinking. Anyway, take care, guys. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.